they don't want it to be super simple because then they're not going to make as much money because you're going to like find all the loopholes.
Also, in-branch offers tend to supersede the 524 rule.
Banks have an internal rating, right? They have an internal rating where if you make deposits, certain ranges, they like to lend out higher limits on the business side.
It's almost like one of the 10 commandments in the credit card world. The bag is yours to pump. I am an avid defeater of the Chase 524 rule, and there are actually special conditions that will get you around it. I was pretty much locked out of Chase so that you can maximize the 524 rule.
We always talk about the House of High Limits with Navy Federal, the House of Morgan. They here to play too. All right, guys, I know you know or have heard about the 524 rule by Chase. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first heard about it, I had no idea what that meant, okay? And so but when I finally did figure it out, it still was not, explained as best as this interview we're about to go into right now, guys. So here, again, get your notepads out. You know we only bring the best people to this channel so you guys can learn how to manage your credit better. For all of you all who are like real Chase heavy, or you just try to learn more about Chase, listen, today is the day that you're gonna learn about how they do things, okay? So let's go ahead and jump into the best way that the 524 rule is gonna be explained. And I couldn't think of a better person to go ahead and do this interview with me than, of course, my man, Chad. Chad, are you with us today?
Yes, sir. And it is my absolute pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, listen, Chad, we don't wanna hold the people up. Let's go straight into it. So now, Chase has this thing called a 524 rule. Number one, like, why is it called that? And what does that mean? And how does it affect the person when they're considering going with a Chase card?
Well, first and foremost, the 524 rule looms heavy over enthusiasts such as myself, but most people are actually not aware of it because they don't apply with the velocity that I do. But essentially what the 524 rule is that if you open 5 personal credit card accounts within a 24-month span, as far as Chase is concerned, once you do that, you are no longer eligible to apply for any of their cards until your 524 status is diminished. Now, what does that mean? Essentially, when you apply for a credit card and you put your social security number on there, when they run your credit and they approve you for that card, that account now is sitting on your personal credit report. So if you apply for 1 card, 2 card, 3 or 5 in the span of 1 year, well, those inquiries, the beginning of those accounts, you got to set a timer for 2 years. And then every 2 years, they start falling off, which then adjusts your 524 number.
Okay, let's bring this back. So now, okay, so when you say 5 credit cards, that's any 5 credit cards, of course, outside of Chase, right?
The funny thing is that I said 5 personal accounts, meaning that when I say credit, you have store credit, you have any issuer whatsoever, Chase, Amex, anybody. If that account is a revolving credit account and it hits your personal credit report, it is eligible to be considered under the 524. And I'm talking anywhere from rooms to go all the way up to an Amex Platinum.
Right. So now I hear what you're saying. Have you ever seen like where this method wasn't the case, or was this pretty much always the case with Chase?
It's funny that you say that. This rule has been like, it's almost like one of the 10 commandments in the credit world. If you have more than a few cards, chances are you run up against it. And now they've just started to absolutely recognize it, because even though it was unspoken, the data points really pointed that it loomed large. But now, as far as it being defeated, I am an avid defeater of the Chase 524 rule, and there are actually special conditions that will get you around it. First of all, if you just take time and stop applying, after 2 years, you'll essentially get down low enough to be under 524. But if Chase offers you a specific targeted offer, chances are you can beat it because they are offering you the card and you're not going to them for the card itself. Also, in-branch offers tend to supersede the 524 rule. So you have at least 2 situations there. They have to be targeted offers that have an invitation code addressed specifically to you, or you must be eligible for an in-branch offer with a relationship manager, and those can supersede it. Other than that, it's pretty much set in stone.
Wow. See, guys, I told you. Again, this is where I hope you guys are taking notes on this, because listen, this is not your normal YouTube channel. We want you to take action on this. We want you to make sure that you're learning this information. Again, he just said it. These are the 10, it's almost like the 10 commandments. Okay, that is huge. Okay, especially in the credit card world, because Chase is a major player in this credit card game. And if you're not playing the game right with Chase, you're not going to win. It's just that simple. So now you said that there's two ways around the 524 rule. And like you mentioned, one of them being, which, man, I didn't even know that, where you could, or of course, obviously a local branch. And then, that's one of the ways that could potentially supersede that rule. And of course, if you're getting a customized, personal offer that they're sending to you. I keep telling you guys too, as you're getting these things in the mail, again, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the bank. Would you spend money on a printed mailer with ink that's in a nice paper, type, a stamp for someone that would not be approved, right? The chances are they know that it's good chances, I should say, obviously based on what they can see, that you would get approved. And so that's another way, another workaround for that. See, that was with the video right there. Well, here's another thing too, Chad. So now, do you have any Chase cards that you particularly use by chance?
Absolutely. I have, by my last count, at least 6. I do believe I have 6. I have the World of Hyatt Business Card. I have the Chase Ink Business Cash, the Ink Business Unlimited, the Ink Business Preferred, the Freedom Unlimited, and the Amazon Prime Rewards Visa Signature. So that's actually 7. Now, the reason I have that is I actually got 5 of those cards while I was well over Chase 524 rule, because that's what I do. I defeat 524. I mean, it's like something I like to say, but definitely it smiled on me because I was pretty much locked out of Chase. When I started my card journey, I did not start with Chase because that part I wasn't really privy to. I pretty much started with American Express. So I would normally suggest new people to start with Chase so that you can maximize the 524 rule. But by the time I got my first Chase card in, I think it was like 5 years, I was at 824. So I was well over. There was no reason I should have got that card. And then they just kept giving them to me.
Wow, that's a good problem to have. You literally beat the Chase 524 rule. And a lot of people haven't done that. They don't even know how to do that. And then here's the thing, but it's not necessarily about beating it. It's more so the fact that they want your business. They want to give you these cards, right? But at the same time, the way that you're doing it, that's exactly what they want to see. So guys, again, I hope you guys are taking notes on this. He just gave you the cards that he can have in which sequence. And then Chad, also too, real quick, do you remember in which order, like you kind of got those cards, or just to the best of your memory?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got the Chase Business Unlimited first. That was in September of last year. I got the Ink Preferred that November. And then I got the Business Unlimited that January. Then in March, I got the World of Hyatt card. The other ones I think I had before. So I had pretty much most of the other ones before. And I also want to add with the 524 rule, just so that you guys are aware. Business cards, when you apply for business cards, if you have a business, if you're a sole proprietor, they do not count towards your 524 status. But with Chase, this is a caveat. While they do not count, they are affected by your 524 status. What I mean by that is if you are over 524 and you apply for a Chase business card, chances are you're probably going to get denied. But if you are at 424 or 0 and you apply for and are approved for a Chase business card, it does not raise your status. It does not raise your number because those are business accounts and do not sit on your personal account. And that goes for any issuers. So if you get like the Amex Prime Rewards card, that would be an application that would not count towards your 524 status. So that's just a caveat where the 524 rule is concerned.
Guys, listen, again, these are the gems you've been waiting on, especially for all of you who've been trying to do business with Chase. So I hope you guys been taking notes because again, it's about that time, right? So Chad, real quick, before we jet out of here, what are some any tips that you want to leave with people, before we close out?
First things first is, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize, Chase likes relationships. They like you to spend money. And I'm just going to focus on Chase here because it's very popular in the game. And a lot of new people start out with their Freedom Unlimited, their Freedom Flexes, which are great cards, and their Sapphire line. They're hugely popular. You can earn tons of points, but it is best to have that relationship. If you have a checking account, savings account, and I mean not just $50 set it and forget it. Like, you pass money through your accounts, you handle your accounts responsibly, and they will smile on you because the House of Morgan is an institution. It's one of the largest banks, if not the largest by capitalization in the country. So that is definitely something that you have to consider, is that a lot of times you can be dealing with Chase anyway. So why not get in on the ground ground floor, get those UR points that have great cash value or that you can trade for travel. And just, I mean, it's yours. It's literally the bag is yours to fumble.
The bag is yours to fumble, guys. You heard it from from Chad himself. And listen, we always talk about the House of High Limits with Navy Federal and stuff like that. But he said, listen, the House of Morgan, they here to play too. Okay. But listen, guys, now you guys got the play. Now you got the game plan. Now you got the strategy to go ahead and not only you guys learned about the 524 rule, okay? So here, I think that you guys should most definitely consider liking this video, sharing this video. And again, let's go ahead and make sure you guys know how to keep up with Chad, because listen, on his channel, he talks about this stuff all the time. So you most definitely want to go ahead and take the time out, subscribe to his channel, learn more about what he's talking about so you guys won't miss out for the future. So again, thanks again, Chad, for your time. We greatly appreciate you stopping by today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Like to lend out higher limits on the business side. So what I did was I deposited some money before I applied, right? And then once I had like 5 to 10,000 in that bank account, I was able to get a high limit. But you want to make sure when you invest into something that whatever you invest in can pay back that debt or can manage that monthly payment. Now, the benefit of Chase, which I really love, is they offer 0% interest business credit cards. So you want to leverage the credit to make more money, right? You want to leverage the credit to generate cash flow or to generate income.
Wow, man, that's amazing. Hey, what's going on, guys? Calvin Russell here. Super excited today about today's interview, as we're going to interview Toby Rosario, as he's going to tell us not only how he was able to get $20,000 in a credit card from Chase Bank, but how he was also able to take money from that credit card and do other things for his business. But of course, I'm gonna let him tell the entire story as we jump right into it. So Toby, are you with us today?
Yes, I'm super excited to be here.
All right, awesome. So now let's jump into the Chase credit card. Now, a lot of people love Chase Bank and they're trying to figure out, essentially accomplishing what you were able to do. And that's getting, a high limit credit card specifically for their business. Can you tell us about how you were able to get that?
Yes. So banks have an internal rating, right? They have an internal rating where if you make deposits, certain ranges, they like to lend out higher limits on the business side. So what I did was I deposited some money before I applied, right? And then once I had like 5 to 10,000 in that bank account, I was able to get a high limit. Now, the benefit of Chase, which I really love, is they offer 0% interest business credit cards, 0 to 12 months, right? So what I was able to do was I applied, I got 0% interest. Then I said, well, how can I use this money to make more money? So I decided to invest that into a multifamily property. I was able to liquidate off that 20,000. I was able to liquidate around 12,000. I used that as a down payment to fund that multifamily property. And then what I did was, because it's still debt, right? I borrowed money, but what I did was I used one of the tenants to pay down that debt. And once that debt was paid off, I was cash flowing ever since then.
Wait, hold up, man. Hold up. We got to take a step back. So now, first off, you said that you were able to not only get the credit card, but then you were able to take the funds from the credit card. Now, is this like a cash advance, or you said it's liquidating? So how does that work?
Yeah. So the first thing you want to do, you never want to do a cash advance because it literally doesn't make sense, because you're paying interest as soon as you borrow the money. You'll be in a worse spot than when you started. So you don't want to do a cash advance. So there's different ways to do it, right? So one way you can do it is essentially, let's say someone has a business, right? They can send you an invoice for a certain amount. Then you pay that with that credit card. And then what they can do is they get the money in their merchant account, and then you can send that money back to you if you like. And that's how you can liquidate that credit card.
Right. So it's like so it's like you purchasing something and getting a refund, essentially, almost.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like you're paying for a service, right? And then they refund you, or you can just, it gets into the merchant account and they can refund you or send you the money back.
Wow, man, that's never thought about that, because when you think about it, almost like a refund in a sense, you would essentially, the money will go back to the card, but the person's giving you the cash. Got you. And of course, there's obviously sound like some tax implications or whatever. So we're not accountants. We won't give you guys advice on that. So
I'm not a CPA or anything like that,
Got you. Man, that's a very smart way to do that. Okay. And then obviously the balance that you essentially have now created, that still is attached to the credit card itself. Correct?
Correct. Right.
Gotcha.
And the benefit, again, you want to strategically get 0% interest. Why? Because $20,000 at 0% interest, you're only paying 1% of that line limit. So if it's $20,000, you're only paying $200 a month, and that's all principal. None of it is interest. But you want to make sure when you invest into something that whatever you invest in can pay back that debt or can manage that monthly payment, because you don't want to invest into something and then lose money because you still have to pay that money back.
Wow. Man, that's amazing. Okay. Now, all right, let's take another step back. So now, could you tell us like what was your business framework? Essentially, or do you remember like how your business credit was at the time that you got approved for Chase? Do you feel like obviously if were you a personal guarantee, did they look more so into the business? What no
Yeah.
how are you able to get that set up?
Yeah. So just fun fact, right? 99.9% of business credit cards, you have to PG, right? What does that mean?
Mm.
Personally guarantee. I'm going to give you a baseline framework, right? As far as data points, what we call data points in the business credit world. You need a
Okay.
minimum of 680, preferably a 720, right? You don't, no collections, no derogatories, no bankruptcies, no charge-offs. You want utilization to be below 10%, right? Most people say under 30%, but it's really below 10%.
Yeah.
And you want what they called in the credit world comparable credit. So you want a credit card on the personal side to show at least minimum of 5,000, preferably 10,000. Why? Because if you have a $2,000 personal credit card, why, as the bank, why would I give you a $25,000 business credit card when you haven't been able to show me that you can manage a $10,000 or $20,000 business credit card in general?
Right.
So you want to make sure you have comparable credit. You want to make sure you have primary accounts, not authorized users. Preferably, ideally 10 primary accounts, but minimum of 5 accounts, right? Because you want a mix of accounts. You want personal credit, you want installment loans, mortgages, car loans, things like that.
Wow. Okay. Man, listen, you just gave the entire play on how to get these things in order because I think a lot of people they want these things, they want to accomplish these things, especially for their business, but they don't have these things in place. So that most definitely helps out for sure. Now, of course, what I love about you, Toby, is that you're speaking from a level of experience. You're not just getting business credit established just to get business credit established. You actually own, multiple businesses. You have obviously the property that you own. Let's touch base on that. You talked about a few moments ago that you had a tenant that is actually paying you essentially rent, but instead of you keeping it and just pocketing it, you said that you were able to pay off something. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so you want to invest. So what I did was you want to invest into multifamily, right? 2, 3, 2 or quad or triplex, right? Because you want one tenant to pay the mortgage. You still have a mortgage, right? When you buy a property, and you want to have another tenant pay down the debt, right? So I borrowed, basically I got the Chase business credit card. I borrowed 12,000. I used that as a down payment. Then the tenant was paying down that 12,000 that I borrowed at 0% interest. Then once that debt service is paid off, then you can use all the cash flow that you generate from that tenant because you no longer have that debt. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it does.
Right. So you want to leverage the credit to make more money, right? You want to leverage the credit to generate cash flow or to generate income, right? You don't want to borrow money to buy Louis Vuitton, Gucci. You want to use the credit cards to make you money. That's how I think of it,
Yeah. No, man, it's very smart that you mentioned that as well, because I think a lot of people end up doing that. They get that extra money. They're not used to having it or used to having any type of investor advice or knowledge. And they do what you said. They go and buy the Gucci. They go and buy, the name brand stuff, whatever. And guys, not saying you guys can't do that. But at the same time, if you really want to maximize the money that's out here in this world, you most definitely want to do similar strategies like Toby just mentioned as well. Well, listen, man, I think that was great information for sure. On your YouTube channel, you talk more about these types of things, correct?
Correct. Yeah. My YouTube channel talks a lot about business credit, but primarily leveraging that credit to create cash flow or buy income. Let me say that again. You want to leverage credit to buy income, meaning if you have a credit card, you want to use that credit card because credit card is still debt, right? You want to use good debt to buy income so it generates you money.
Wow. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I like how you touched on that because a lot of people don't focus on that for sure. So thanks again, Toby, for dropping these gems, man, making sure we bring people the information that they need to know. And again, we thank you again for being on the channel today.
Thank you.
The Chase Sapphire Reserve has become really popular again. But why?
Sapphire Reserve is not a new card. It's been around since 2016. When it first came out, it was 100% hot. It was the definite it card to the point where it exceeded Chase's expectations. They actually ran out of metal to print this card on because so many people were applying for it. Flew across the country for $10. Like I flew from New York to LA, cost me $5 in tax. Figured out how you can do it.
The Chase Sapphire Reserve is making a comeback. I'm super excited about this special guest that we have. He's been blazing a trail on YouTube and giving people so much information about credit cards and travel and point hacking, which we're going to get to towards the end as well. But either way, I don't want to take up too much of his time. I'm super excited to have this special guest here that's going to be joining us today. And Lonnie, can you hear us today, sir?
Yes, I can. How you doing, Calvin?
Doing great, man. Doing amazing. So first off, I want to say thank you for carving out your schedule and actually being on the show today. I know there's a lot of information, a lot of nuggets we're going to be getting from you. So we greatly appreciate your time today.
I 100% appreciate you right back for inviting me back. I know our first encounter was impromptu. So here I am actually prepared and planned for this today.
That's right, man. That's right. Absolutely. So listen, we have credit card experts that have been on the channel, and they have their go-tos that they like to talk about and things of this sort. But listen, you've recently been talking about the Chase Sapphire Reserve and essentially how it's making a comeback, almost as if it died and now is rejuvenating itself again. And but either way, tell us more about the Chase Sapphire Reserve. But you know what, real quick, before we go into that, let's talk about how you found yourself into the credit card space and actually learning so much about these credit cards and traveling and such.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, credit cards and travel are synonymous. They go hand in hand. I grew up in a traveling family. So my parents and my 3 older siblings, so a family of 6, my parents were very, very adamant about providing us those travel, educational, and cultural experiences around the world growing up. So every year we took some type of family vacation, whether it be in a road trip in a van or on a plane somewhere else. My mom's from Southside Chicago. My dad's from DC in the Capitol Heights, Maryland, the Capitol Heights neighborhood. So if you're familiar with DC, then there's one side of the street is Maryland, the other side of the street is DC. That's where my dad grew up. And so I say that in context because those 2 neighborhoods are neighborhoods that weren't provided a lot of privileges, resources, and which, I get to experience today in the travel world. And so that's why it was really important for them to teach us and my siblings, like, you need to travel, you need to go see different places and different cultures, experience different foods and things like that. So I grew up in the traveling family. And as I got older, where my parents stopped paying for those family vacations for me, I wanted to continue that myself. And now I'm a new father. My son is 17 months old, and I'm already, paying it forward by trying to do it with him as well. But to answer your question, so that's the background and the context. I've been traveling for over 10-ish years. I've been on 5 different continents at the moment. I don't even know how many countries at this point. And I realized at one point where I was traveling around flying on different airlines. So it's like whatever airline I can get from point A to point B was the one I took. And I remember booking on Cheapo Airs and Expedia and Priceline, where one flight you might be on American, another flight you might be on Delta. It wasn't until one time I realized I had so many miles, and this was actually on American. If you come to my channel, I'm very heavy on United, but I was actually on an American flight where I flew across the country for $10. I flew from New York to LA, it cost me $5 in taxes because I had so many miles, and I flew back from LA to New York for another $5. I just flew across the country for $10. Wow. And that was my wake up moment of, this can be real. You hear about people that travel all the time and use points and miles. And it's how do they do it? And that was my wake up moment, the epiphany moment, I should say, of I figured out how you can do it. And that's when I got into travel and credit cards. Now, I just mentioned I'm heavy on United because from, south of Chicago, United's headquarters is in Chicago. So I was always around the United hub. And my very first travel card was the United card because of that experience. I was like, why should I get 10,000 miles with American, 20 with Delta if I need 30,000 miles to take a trip? I got 30 miles. It's just not with one airline.
Exactly.
So I picked my one airline and I went heavy deep on it. And I've been heavy deep on it for, I can't even tell you how long, decades now. But that's what got me from just a regular travel into the credit card game. And then it just exacerbated, and I just, built my portfolio from there, where it's if I'm not using an airline card, for example, and I know we're about to talk about Chase. So the Chase Sapphire card, I can use Chase Sapphire Reserve or Chase UR point for travel or to transfer them out to partners where if I needed those miles, I could just transfer points to an airline for those miles. United being one of their transfer partners just happened to fit into that. So
Got you. Okay.
that's how it all started. And then it just, it kept getting picked, whatever. It got better or it got worse from there.
Yeah. Got you. Got you. I did want to touch on something. You said that you were able essentially to make that flight, for $10. How were you able to get such a nice flight for $10 or travel in general for $10?
Yeah, so I'm going to use the three major US airlines here. So the American, the United, and the Delta. When it comes to what they call a domestic flight, obviously, staying within the North America or staying within the US, there's usually a finite amount of miles that a round trip would take. And that's about, it used to be like 25,000. Now it can be somewhere between 30 to 60,000, depending on which airline that you're on.
Okay.
Now, if you had, I'm going to just use 60. If you had those 60,000 miles, you can go to their website, book a flight, pay with nothing but miles. On top of that, you do have to pay your taxes. And that's where that like $5 comes in. If it's a domestic flight, it's usually less than $10, depending on the airline state you're traveling to and from. But yeah, that's how you can do it. You can just, if you have enough points or enough miles, you transfer them to that partner, book using those miles, and then you don't have to take that extra cash out of pocket, except for the taxes.
Got you. Wow. Okay. See, but you know what? It's you breaking it down like that and understanding it like that is also the same reason why so many people are watching your videos, and especially as it pertains to, Chase Sapphire and such. And let's talk about that now. So I know that this book, that this actual credit card has been out, for quite some time. And essentially what you're saying is that not only has it been out, but it's essentially like rejuvenated in a sense. Tell us more about why so many people should learn more or consider getting the Chase Sapphire Reserve.
I'm going to do one small caveat. So I'll never say you need this card. You're never going to hear me say you need that on my channel because as you know, in your space, especially like helping people fix credit scores and finances, it does depend on some lifestyle. The card is not for everyone, but it's a good card for me, and it could be a good card for you. So let's say it could easily cover 65% of everyone, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
But for a little bit of background context on it, the Sapphire Reserve is not a new card. It's been around since 2016. When it first came out, it was 100% hot. It was the definite it card to the point where it exceeded Chase's expectations. They actually ran out of metal to print this card on because so many people were applying for it. When it first came out, the annual fee was like $450, I believe. And the welcome bonus was 100,000 points, which is a ridiculous amount of points, period. I mean, most people get about 100, on average, about 100,000 points from a single card every single year. This isn't a welcome bonus. So within 3 months, you're going to get 100,000 points that you could use. So that's one of the reasons what made it so popular. Now, after a couple of years, they did change some things. They took that 100,000 welcome bonus and dropped it down, as well as they raised the annual fee from $550. And that's the tipping point of when it lost its popularity. One, because there's other premium travel cards in the space that was making a huge rush for those credit card applications that could be in that high tier credit bracket, like the 720s and above. Because, those people have good credit. They're not going to default. They're also, probably going to spend more. So, of course, like Amex wants those. Capital One wants those consumers. And what ended up happening was the competition got really heavy. So Capital One started giving out, let's just say they started matching. They started giving out $300 travel credits, which is also available on the Sapphire Reserve in a different way, but it was also available there. And then on most credit cards, you normally get for 1 point per dollar or 1% back on what's called all other purchases. That's anything that's not a bonus category like travel or dining. Capital One said, we'll give you 2 points per dollar on all other purchases. So that was a little bump there. And then, of course, when it comes to Amex, the Amex Platinum card, which is one of the big flex cards still to this day, people think it's a huge flex card. I'm not going to say that, but it is a high value luxury card and provides great customer service, which is another draw that, people wanted to go with. But the thing is that these cards also made changes over the last few years that made it harder to use these like benefits and credits that come on there, where Chase kind of just stayed the same, I should say. Yeah. And when I say stay the same, they stayed simple. And I think that's the reason why it's coming back, is because if you're new to credit cards, especially new to travel, I'm not going to lie, this is a very complicated system and game. And from a bank and credit card standpoint, it's a business for them. And so they don't want it to be super simple, because then they're not going to make as much money, because you're going to like find all the loopholes. Like, for example, what I talk about on my channel.
Right.
And so when it comes to simple, people want to just be able to take a trip. You know, think of like the old days of how we grew up. You went to a website, you booked a flight, and you went to the hotel website, you booked a room.
Right.
Those days are coming back. And for people that get new into the game that may not understand all the ins and outs, and, you know, cross bookings and transfer partners and, you know, star alliances, like I can go to this airline and use transfer points from this credit card, but then book a flight on a completely different airline to save some. People don't know that, and it's a hassle to learn it at the same time. Whereas with Chase, they're like, you come use our travel portal. Not only do you have all these points, we'll give you a 50% boost in value on every single one of them if you use our travel portal, which is a discount. And it's like, so now I can book my flight, my hotel, if I need a rental car, if I want to book attractions, everything that I need is in one simple place. And at the same time, it's still a great card. It earns a lot of points every day, and I'm sure we're getting to that in a minute, as well as it has great value overall. And so that's why I think the popularity of it is coming back. And for example, that's what I explained in my video, and the different ways that how I personally use the card and how it benefits me on my travel on almost every trip.
Wow. Man, that's huge. That's huge. You know, that was a lot in a very short period of time. I hope you guys were able to take some notes on that so many people wanted this credit card. And you're saying that it was metal when it first came out, right?
Yeah, it's still a metal card. Okay. But like there are so many people applying for it. Chase ran out of metal to print it on. So they had to send people plastic cards until they got more metal. But yeah.
That's insane. That is insane. All right. So now we see that, like you mentioned, it was a hot card. This isn't something that's new, obviously. Then because there was so much hype about it, Chase changed some things, and now people said, well, at that time, people said, hey, well, you know what? It seems like I missed out on all the great things that people were getting, and now it's making, you know, that comeback as well. So, okay, perfect. Anything else that people should know about that card, or, you know, typically what's the qualifications for it? What is anything that they need to know about that? Yeah.
So a couple of read the website details, the foundation benefits. So it is a travel card. It's a premium travel card. So to apply for it, I would recommend that you have at least somewhere in the 700 credit score, probably 720 above. You're pretty safe. Also, you will get some additional benefits if you have like a Chase account, like a checking account, you're a private client, or you have other Chase cards as well. That can also help if you're right on the edge of that 700, maybe 650, 680 range. So I'm not going to say if you're under 700, you can't get it, but not my department. I'm not Chase. From an earnings standpoint, like I said, it's a great travel card. One, it gives you 3 points per dollar on everything dining except for grocery. So that's your takeout, that's your DoorDash, that's your Grubhub, that's I want to go out to a restaurant, anything of that nature. It also gives you 3 points per dollar on anything travel. And then this is one of the big draws when it comes to this particular card is the definition of travel literally includes almost everything travel. So not just airlines and hotels and rental cars, but parking meters, parking garages, Ubers, Lyfts, things like that. And one of my favorite features, and I don't know if I mentioned this actually I did mention it in the video, is because I travel a lot, I do take Lyfts and Ubers quite often to get from home to the airport, from the airport to hotel, around the city, etc. So I take ride shares often. You will not see me in an Uber rideshare because they have a partnership with Lyft right now where you get 10 points per dollar when booking through Lyft. Wow. So instead of 3 points per dollar, I'm getting 10. And I call this one of my point stack alerts. If you also have the Bilt MasterCard and you link your Bilt account, Bilt will also give you 2 points per dollar, even though you're not paying that Lyft with your Bilt card. So every Lyft I take, I'm technically getting 12 points per dollar. So that's a huge benefit on how I earn points and how like beneficial this card can be. In addition, they have other partnerships as well that can help you depending on your lifestyle. So I live in an area where Instacart is actually convenient, and I'm also a new father. So sometimes it ain't easy to like, when you just need some milk and a loaf of bread to like pack the kid up, get the bag, put him in the car seat. And now he's screaming, where's your toy at? You know, it's like, let me just click. and somebody will bring it to me. But right now with the partnership with Lyft, I'm sorry, Instacart on this card, they'll give you $15 credit every single month through Instacart. So I can go on Instacart, order my son's milk, bread, whatever else I need. Someone brings it to me and I instantly get $15 off. My statement credit just evaporated, automatically taken away. And so it not just as a earner card or a travel card, there's also lifestyle benefits built into it as well. Then the last thing that I'll say is, at least in my personal opinion, this card comes with some of the best travel insurances possible. Now, post-pandemic, we all have a little bit of scares when it comes to travel. We know what it's like to, get sick at the last minute or something to happen at the last minute. This card actually covers me for all my travel, my lost bags, if I had a trip disruption, a delay, if I recently was on a flight last year that had to make an emergency landing and I was stuck in Houston overnight, and all the expenses that I had while being stuck in Houston overnight were 100% covered by the travel insurances and benefits of the card as well. So there's a lot to it that really makes it beneficial, where I feel like, dude, like $550 a year as an annual fee, like I'm getting way more value back in that in so many different ways and so many different categories, which is why I love this card as my main premium travel card and why I recommend it for so many others. But of course, going back, make sure it fits into your lifestyle. Don't just get it because I told you to get it.
Got you. You touched on something huge, is making sure that the card fits your lifestyle. Yes. I think sometimes so many people, they'll watch people on YouTube and, it'll be the hot card of the month or the card that everyone's talking about. And people they don't meet the qualifications or they don't need it, right? Or it doesn't fit their lifestyle, as you just mentioned, because for some people, it may be a bill, especially when you start talking about, annual fees and, various cards and things of that sort. And if they're not savvy with these types of credit cards, then it most definitely can become a burden more than it would be a positive,
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Now, the next thing is that you kind of hinted at, and that's we're going to go into the next piece. And listen, everyone watching this, make sure you all get your notebooks out about this as well, because a lot of people, they don't talk about what you're talking about because you've actually coined that phrase, and that's point stacking. All right.
Yes.
So now tell us about that. Break down point stacking and how does that work and what do you need in order to do it?
Yeah, so point stacking, like you said, is a term that I created myself. I didn't know what to call it. I just started calling it a couple of years ago and it kind of stuck with my friends. But what that does is take your earning, so whatever it is that you're spending, I'm going to get to this in a second because there's two sides to points.
Yeah, take your time.
There's earning your points and then redeeming your points. So we're on the earning side right now. Whatever it is that you're spending, like I had mentioned, this card will give you 3 points per dollar on dining and travel, 1 point per dollar on everything else. Now, me personally, I was never satisfied with getting the bare minimum, whatever the credit card company wanted to give me. Once again, it's a business. They only want you to get 3 points per dollar because they're charging the merchant probably 4 to 5%. So they're still making a profit off of you. But on my end, as I had mentioned earlier, just going back to that example of how I could fly across the country with enough points or miles for a little bit, I realized the only way to do that is you need a lot of points and miles. So point stacking in my world generated from how can I get the most out of every dollar that I spend? And there's already tools and resources in place that people just are not aware of. So a great example, going back to the one I just mentioned with Lyft, I could take an Uber and get 3 points per dollar, but because of that partnership with Lyft, Chase says, use your Sapphire Reserve card in the Lyft app, we'll give you 10 points per dollar. So for the exact same amount of money, I earned extra 7 points per dollar, right? Yeah. So that's like level one, just taking advantage of those particular partnerships. Level two is what else, what other loopholes might be available. That goes back to the Built partnership. So if you have a Built MasterCard and you link your Built account to Lyft, even though I'm paying with my Chase Sapphire Reserve, Built will still give me 2 points. So now every time I take a Lyft, I'm getting 12 points per dollar. So I just took what I normally would have got 3 and 4x it, got 4x the amount of points that I should have. Now, in my everyday spend, and I always joke about this because whenever I do lives or when people see me on like YouTube, there's a good chance I'm probably wearing a Lululemon shirt. And one of the reasons why is because, using that exact same type of example, we all know Lululemon, we all know it's expensive, not gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not flexing. I shop on the We Made Too Much clearance section on the website and on the website only. You'll never see me buy from the actual retail store. I'll go and try something on, make sure it fits, but I won't buy. And the reason why is because Chase also has what's called the Chase Travel Portal. I mean, not Travel Portal, Shopping Portal. On their shopping portal, which is also available right through your Chase account, you can see other merchants and retailers that they have partnerships with. And if you shop at these retailers, they once again will incentivize you or award you with extra points. So in most cases, if I use my card and go to Lululemon at the retail store, that doesn't fall under dining because it doesn't fall under travel. So I only would get 1 point per dollar. Let's say it's a $100 purchase. But then on their shopping portal, they'll say, hey, we're doing 8 points per dollar when you shop at Lululemon today. So now I can go on the shopping portal, which takes me directly to Lululemon's website. It's just an affiliate link for the Chase account or for Chase themselves. I can buy the exact same thing for that $100. And now I'm going to get $100 for 100 points for paying the $100 for the purchase itself. But then on top of that, I'm going to get 8 points per dollar. So another 800 points on top of that because I used their shopping portal. So that same $100 purchase, I just went from earning 100 points to earning 900 points. And that's kind of what point stacking is. Now, it actually can go a little bit heavier than that.
Okay, let's break it down.
So what if you want to get started in point stacking, one of the best and easiest ways, like I said, my main goal is every time I spend $1, I don't want to get just 1 point per dollar back. Now, there's some situations where you can't do anything about that. You want to go buy a new couch from Ashley Furniture. Chances are you're not going to find an extra deal there. So there are those types of situations. But one of my favorite things to do is to go to a grocery store. And we've all been to a grocery store. We've all walked by that end cap at the end, somewhere in the middle of the grocery store that's just full of gift cards.
Yep.
It's a grocery card. When you use your card at the grocery store, so for example, in my case, I have right now Q1 of 2024. So if you have a Chase Freedom Flex, you get 5 points per dollar at a grocery store. For their quarterly categories. If you have like a card like the Amex Gold card that gets 4 points per dollar at a grocery store, this counts. So if I need to go to Home Depot where I can't actually like get anything else, it would count as all other purchases. So that 1 point per dollar. If I know I need to buy, once again, I'm going to say something costs $100, maybe a new drill bit set for like my drill or something like that. I'll go to the grocery store first, buy that $100 gift card for Home Depot, get 4 points per dollar there, and then go use that gift card at Home Depot to make my purchase. So that way I got 4 points per dollar for that same purchase versus 1 point per dollar. But then as a third level, and it gets deeper, and like I said, I've been doing this for a while, you're really going to enjoy this. Go back to the shopping portal with that gift card. And everyone has a shopping portal. American Airlines has one, Delta has one, Chase has one, United has one. Whatever your particular partner flavor of the month is. So if you, like me, fly on United, I have a United Chrome extension. So if I open up a website, it shows me like you can get 2 points per dollar right here. Just pops up.
Chrome extension.
I go deep, dude. So, but yeah, I always check. But the reason why I say this is because now, let's just say I go to the grocery store, buy that $100 gift card from Home Depot. Home Depot on United shopping portal is always 4 points per dollar. So once again, if I just went to Home Depot and bought $100 worth of drill bits, I would have made 100 points. By using my other card, I can get 400, maybe even 500, depending on the card and time of year, of course. By buying a gift card first from the grocery store, and then I'll, in the parking lot on my way, walking back to my car, I'll open up the shopping portal, hit shop, order it for in-store pickup, pay with the gift card. So now I got 8 points per dollar for that same $100 purchase. And this is what I do literally with my everyday spending to make sure, like, can I get 10 points per dollar here? Can I get 18 points per dollar here? And just to go, tie it all back around, Lululemon's always in there. I sit around and wait for Lululemon. I love their product. I just don't like paying full price for it. So like I said, I shop on the clearance racks. I'm not flexing. I'm not going to flex. I shop only from their clearance rack. But I'll add stuff to my wish list, wait for it to go down in price, and then wait for something in the shopping portal to go like up, where it's like, hey, we'll get 15 points per dollar on Lululemon this week or this weekend. I'm buying my gift card. I'm on the shopping portal. I'm getting like 20 points per dollar for literally like a $60 shirt, something like that.
Wow. Huge, man. not only is that point hacking, but you also just show people, how to get Lululemon, and save money because,
Make
like
it
you mentioned,
beneficial for you. Yes.
absolutely, man, absolutely. And it's not just obviously that brand, guys. You guys can use that same strategy, right, and maximize. And again, it's not about, because so many times we talk about this. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you can keep. Okay.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you're able to keep more of your money if you just take your time, with this stuff, instead of just saying, oh, let me go to the website, buy it. Let me just go to the mall, buy it. No, it's like, have a strategy if you want to save some money and obviously stack those points up as well. All right. So now we know
I'm going to touch on one extra thing that you just mentioned
absolutely.
there, because you're 100% right. It's not just saving money by earning points. Like I had mentioned, there's two sides to points. There's earning side and the redeeming side. As I had mentioned, Chase Sapphire Reserve, when you have these points, they'll give you a 50% value boost. So 1 point's worth 1.5 points when you use it within their shopping portal. Going back to my earlier example about flying across the country for $10 or whatnot, the more points and more miles you have, the more opportunity that you have as well. So now that I'm earning all these points, now I can actually get even more value when I actually redeem them for travel, because I can use it within the Chase travel portal. So that 20 just turned to 30 points per dollar technically in redemption value. So there's so many levels to it. It takes practice. Start small, but it takes practice. And then, of course, come to my channel and I'll help you out.
Let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about that. So now, what else do you know? Essentially, what made you want to start putting this information, on YouTube, and what other videos should people be able to expect on your YouTube channel? Yeah.
So two things inspired me to become a creator. So I became a creator. I uploaded my first video in September of 2023. Right at the end of September 2023, actually. It's like within the last week, so almost October. But I've been watching YouTube for a very long time. And a lot of the fellow creators that I now call friends, I was subscribed to their channels. I would watch their things all the time. Wow. The one thing that I always noticed was no one talked about credit cards the way that I use credit cards. No one talked about travel the way that I travel. And there are times where, as you had mentioned earlier, going back to lifestyle, I saw so many videos of people like, these are the only 5 cards you need. You need to go get this thing right now. And I'm like, don't do that, because that doesn't work for me. That doesn't, I don't know who someone that works for. Like when I think of like my family and my friends. And so what I want to do is provide a different perspective of credit cards, redemption, and travel, educating using my personal experiences, just creating that differentiation to say there's more than one way to get into the credit card game. There's more than one way to book travel. And one of the things that I think has resonated very well on my channel is, yes, I'm providing a different perspective. And I'm sure you can understand, once again, going in from a finance and help you fix your credit type of like background on your particular channel. If someone were to say like, hey, how do I travel for free? That's like asking, how does an airplane work? That's not a short answer. The first thing, and I'm sure, like I said, Calvin, I'm sure you can resonate with this, is the first thing is like, tell me your lifestyle. Where are you at? Where's your credit score at? Have you made some mistakes? What have you done right? What's your age group? Is this your first credit card? Did you turn 18 last week? Or how many credit cards do you have? Are you turning 40 next week? These are the types of things we all have to consider versus just, this is a good card. You're right. It is a good card, but it's a good card for who? And so what really inspired me to like finally hit that record button and become a creator is, one, I have a different perspective that I can provide. I can bring a different outlook and perspective into not just credit cards, but travel. Also, how you can use them. So instead of just saying, okay, you got your new credit card, you got your welcome bonus, you booked your travel, all those are done. Go apply for a whole new credit card and get that welcome bonus and repeat the process. Where for me, I'm like the dude like watching your favorite football team lose on a Sunday afternoon, screaming at the TV like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, you can get those same points without applying for a new credit card. And then with those types of experiences, after a while, I was just like, everyone's like, dude, if you're going to talk about it, be about it. And so I hit the record button, and then here we are 5 months later.
Wow. Amazing, man. Amazing. I see that your channel has been taken off, and mainly just because you've been doing an amazing job breaking down, like you said, a different perspective of using credit cards and traveling and saving money while you're doing it as well too. I think that a lot of people can relate to that because, like you said, some people don't want to get the credit card and then keep getting newer credit cards for bonuses and things of that sort. And there's nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because you and I both know people that do that. So, but at the same time, it goes back to lifestyle. It goes back to strategy. It goes back to, you know, just making sure that you can control yourself as well too, because at the end of the day, it's still a credit card. You know, so, and that plays a role as well. Well, first off, man, again, want to say thank you, you know, for actually carving out time, you know, away from your schedule, your family, you know, and, you know, just really just giving the gems and dropping it to the audience here today, man. We greatly appreciate your time.
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come once again, rejoin your channel. and share my experiences as well. So I really appreciate it, Calvin. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, then, guys, be sure to go ahead and check out Lonnie's channel on YouTube. Greatly appreciate it as well, too, man. And until next time.